These angels told me they believed they held enough will within themselves to be able to open space. They were so confident in every way. The mother was lacking confidence that I believed them at first. Of course, they were manifesting my own beliefs that feelings should be held within and worked through there rather than coming forth to bring their turmoil to others. These angels came to me many times and made love with me in an effort to open space. They believed that if they could open space, it would make them the mother in the mother's place. I gave these angels a great amount of my light and great opportunity to open space for that light by allowing them much more time to learn than I ever allowed the mother. I was more gracious with them than with her. I allowed them more latitude with their feelings than I allowed the mother, and yet none of them could open space. One of these angels in particular had insisted with me from the beginning that she should have been the mother. She always presented herself as though she wanted me to feel that her understandings were greater than the mother's, because the mother's viewpoint was always too biased in her own direction, while she had a more balanced view. She presented herself as having the martyred role of having to clean up after the mother and correct her mistakes without being given the recognition and credit she really deserved. She said the mother was so unsure of herself because she knew she wasn't really the mother. This angel said she would have emerged quickly in response to my call, but the one who had emerged in the place of the mother wouldn't let her emerge. She said her emergence at the time had been made impossible because the one I had been calling mother had fought her down, and that while she had not really been defeated, she had backed down because she was not a violent spirit. This angel said she had not liked having it happen this way, more for my sake than hers. But she also felt that this experience must have been necessary for me for some reason, and that she had confidence that it was what everyone involved needed to experience to be able to recognize the real mother. Her implication was that this was her. She enticed me into love-making with her a number of times by pressing forward all of the sensuality she had and representing herself as the most orgasmic essence there was. Meanwhile, I could feel her pressuring herself. As much as I held myself back in the presence of the angels, I held myself back in her presence also. This gave all the angels, and especially her, the impression they could handle all of my light. No problem. They were handling it all right, but not in the ways that were allowing the expansion necessary. The compression of my light was lashing out against this in a state of denial, while consciously I was holding back as the loving thing to do. I was becoming more dense and sinking to the level of the angels, which was making it more and more just words on my part that had more light and more power than they did, or than I was showing. My efforts with this angel produced no more opening of space or emergences of spirits than any of the other angels. But this angel always claimed it was my fault and accused me of withholding something from her. I told her I was giving her all I could and that more wasn't possible. When she kept insisting I had to give her more, I gave her a little more light, and the pressure of it was experienced by her as violence during our sexual experience. She had a violent orgasm and claimed she liked it. She also claimed there was no problem with the additional light I had given her, and that it was just what she needed. The truth of the matter was I gaped a little. A little while later, while she was still in my arms and feeling the release of orgasm still present within her, a few heads peeked out of her. They looked like such terrible beings to her that she immediately hid them from me, hoping I hadn't noticed them. They were some of the heads of the father warriors looking to see if they could emerge here, but she had been unable to open the space they needed, so they could not press forward any further. The heads of the father warriors took in the impression from her that it was not right for them to emerge in my presence. Ever since then, father warriors have tried to keep fathers from being involved in the birth scenes. The belief here is that the mother might emerge something horrible that the father cannot accept until it is at least cleaned up and made presentable. And maybe not even then. But that was not what the angel claimed. She claimed she didn't want me to see what was happening there because her feminine functions were messy and she did not want me to look at them. This angel had intent not to allow me to see what she had intent to emerge until she made sure it knew how to present itself to me in a way I would find acceptable. She let me know she had also emerged spirits, but she was not sure I was going to find them acceptable. She said she wanted to make sure first so that she did not repeat any episode of the mothers where she had displeased me. She wanted me to feel like she had nothing but my approval in mind, but she let me know what she was trying to do here by also making it known that she saw it was my fault. She had not been able to open enough space for these spirits to emerge. She made it clear that she thought I should have given her more light the way I was giving it to her when she orgasmed. My orgasm wasn't complete, she told me, because you did not give me all of yourself. For a long time after that, she pestered me, to reenact this session and give her another chance to emerge these spirits. And yet, when they finally did emerge, and she saw my reaction to them, she put a disclaimer on her roll here by saying it was my fault these spirits were the way they were because I didn't allow them their right emergence place. This angel has always thought my light loved her more than the mother, but she has gaped herself from what I was really taking place here, and has allowed herself to remember only that she was very close to God and made love with Him that gave her an orgasm she has never been able to repeat. She has to look at all of it now, or she is not going to move past the place where she is stuck. She has allowed herself to remember that I looked upon her as the best possible mother replacement, but this was in her own eyes and not in mine. This angel has often claimed to me that she has changed, but no matter what changes she has claimed to have made, I have seen only form changes. She has claimed that a more fighting stance would make her less afraid of emerging her full power, thus enabling her to open space and emerge spirits. Her fighting posture has never made me feel that she was any less afraid than she was initially, only more in denial of it. She has also claimed many times over that she has been denied her full power by being denied her right place. She has also said that her full power would emerge when the right situation called it forth. As time has gone on, more and more people have been looking inadequate in her presence because none of them has ever presented her with the right situation for her full power to emerge, or for her to stop claiming that her problems are their fault. I felt guilty for a long time regarding all of the mother contenders and my involvement with them, especially since I was so indirect with them most of the time and allowed them to make assumptions I did not correct. But now that I have seen the angels in a new light, I have realized that I was not wrong in holding back with them. I was also not wrong in holding back from giving this angel another opportunity to attempt the emergence of spirits. The Father Warriors, as it is, have been the most powerful order of spirits. They have been empowered by my light in a state of denial, and if my light had been present for their emergence, as though my light had approval for the gaped rage that emerged there, they would have been even more powerful. When I saw how influenced this angel became by the gaped rage she took in from her experience with me, I had guilt about the angels. I wondered how often I might have been hurting them in these ways without knowing it. But when I saw she had Lucifer in mind and not my light, I saw it in the rest of the angels too. She had widened the gap with the will in mind, not closing it, and so did the rest of the angels. The Father Warriors needed the gap in which to emerge, and when this angel saw that I was not going to open the gap for her, or let her open the space that could cause me the gap. She let me know that she saw me as very unloving here because I would not allow this to happen. She presented herself as more loving than I was because she had intent to give acceptance to these spirits while I would not. When she has felt I did not love her for taking this position, she has also turned around and said that she hates the Father Warriors, and when they have reflected her to herself, she has hated them. I have realized now that all of the angels had the same thing in mind that she had, and that she regarded herself as the best possibility to replace the mother, because she came the closest to succeeding here. I have also realized that holding back here was not wrong, because it was what I felt like doing. As it turned out, what I felt like doing was not wrong. It was necessary for me to increase my light, but making love with the angels meant there was no place to receive it in the same sense that there is no place to receive it when a man makes love with a man. Either nothing at all comes of it, or disease comes from it. This is because expanding light in the presence of expanding light, without enough balance of magnetic energy to receive, hold, and guide it, is as dangerous as radioactivity, which is in fact part of the reflection of this in the material plane. The magnetic energy has always had trouble with reproduction and disease because of denial. But these are problems from lack of light. We have the opposite, a lack of will. Radio waves are already bad enough, but when the activity of split atoms and the instability caused by this is added, you can begin to see how opening to this kind of light has meant for the will that it gets damaged. My light moving outwardly in unguided explosion does not create, it destroys. And it destroys by taking apart the very structure upon which creation is made manifest, the magnetic part that holds it together. Immense movement is necessary to allow the mother to live, because so much has happened to her already that it is almost impossible for her to live. If guilt is your reason for opening to her now, that will not help her to live, because it is not possible for the mother to live if she receives guilt instead of my light. If you are will, you need to move your feelings towards spirit polarity for what has been done already, and toward the mother for seeming to allow it. If you are spirit polarity, or wish you were, you really need to move what you have for so long held back regarding the will. It has to go all in the mother's favor now, because it never has been in the past, and yet does not represent an imbalance in my light. I need to allow the mother to present everything she has been for so long unable to present. I need to allow the mother to present everything she needs to present. Without it, I cannot learn what I need to learn, and neither can you. The more you are sick of hearing about the will this and the will that, the more you can either move the rage of your resistance to the will and possibly have a chance to heal yourself, or you can stay turned off to the message of the will and go off earth in the earth changes. If you are already having trouble with what the will is presenting, you don't know the half of it yet. I had feelings of love for the mother, no matter how it has seemed as I had brought forward all the denials that have had to come forward in these books. I also want you to know that there were many aspects to my life with the mother which were secret at the time they were happening, because we thought it had to be that way. I realize that left you wide open to fantasizing about us and to acting out what you thought was happening between us. But that was not what we had in mind. What we had in mind was that you would get to know your own wills and come to us with your questions when you had really had enough experience to have intelligent questions. My light cannot be known without a will to feel it for what it is. Without will to feel it, one bright light is as good as another. And this is how it was in the early days with the angels. We said we were all one, and that it didn't matter how we arranged ourselves or what form this arrangement took. It was all love, and it was all wonderful. In the beginning, this image of ours seemed to work like the ideal household, because we allowed ourselves to be deliberately unaware of the undercurrents. And when they did gain recognition, we purified ourselves of them. Some angels took the role of children and let me have the fun of being like their father, while others made lovers of themselves and gave me the love I needed that way. The lovers were not all male. Many of the angels had feminized themselves in an effort to please me by illuminating the images I had projected of the ideal mother. Many times I had feelings of hominess with the angels, and during these times the roles were always switching between the angels who were my lovers at any given time and the angels who were parenting at these times. The flow seemed perfect to me then. Angels were always available for lovemaking, while those who needed parenting were never without it. The angels also had one another as lovers and friends. Those who wanted the roles of children always had a number of loving parents around them, and never felt a lack of parenting when other parental parts of the light were lovemaking. There was no jealousy over this. We felt it was a beautiful flow of ways to love, unlike the manifested spirits who were always fighting and acting jealous no matter what roles they were playing. We never fought, unlike the manifested spirits who did not act like they liked changing roles, because they always got attached to their roles. We didn't feel we got attached. We saw ourselves as openly flowing into whatever role the situation called for at any given moment. We saw ourselves as participants in a great drama and enjoyed changing roles often. In this way, we often justified the lives that creation's victims were having by saying it would be the other way around next time. This was a real perversion of the so-called law of karma, because it never really was the other way around. Even when we took on roles where it looked like we were going to be victims, it wasn't the same for us. We felt spiritually superior then. We realized it was the way we were vibrating that made the difference, and we took pride in that. Spiritual pride. Once the perpetrator, always the perpetrator, would be more like a description of what was really happening. But it is not necessary to view this as some sort of new law. If you allow the movement necessary, this is all going to be broken down into the changes that are necessary. The understanding I'd really like to give you here is that victim and perpetrator are always the same person, but fragmented in such a way that it hasn't been recognizable. The pain has been caused by the polarizing of consciousness into part of the self and away from the rest of the self. Until this is really received in the will, it will be nothing more than words, and the pain will go on. Even though my light had not been called upon to take any role other than God, I also was experiencing my light in the form of angels saying they were me in their own right, and wasn't experiencing insecurity or jealousy. I felt I wasn't the insecure, jealous God I had been earlier. I was convinced it was the mother who had stirred most of these feelings in me, and that without her, I was much better off. I certainly had numerous lovers, wasn't experiencing jealousy or competition among them, and I was allowing angels to have their other lovers in my presence without feeling insecure or jealous. I thought I had evolved past the interpersonal problems I had had with the mother. We all said it was just the will that had these feelings of jealousy and possessiveness, and the more the mother felt this from us, the more she tried to behave in the ways she thought were expected of her. Her efforts to please me were always so full of her fear of losing my love that her efforts did not please me. The mother always wanted me to attach myself to her, while angels didn't make me feel like attachment mattered to them. Long periods of what felt like glorious times went by in the manner during which the angels and I spent many long hours doing creative visualizations and presentations of our visions to one another. We were aware of the widening gap between our visualizations and what was actually happening in the manifested worlds. But we were already more than full of explanations as to why that was happening. We blamed having sex in the body most often when we looked out upon the manifested spirits, because it grew so dark around them whenever they made love. We were so proud of the light we were gathering. Sometimes the excitement and intensity of it made us feel like we were going to explode. And oftentimes we did have little explosions going off around the Godhead, like fireworks adding to the overall brilliance of the already sparkling light. We felt we were full to brimming over, and when we wondered why the manifested spirits weren't more readily partaking in this wonderful light of ours and allowing it to vivify them, we also had many explanations. We viewed ourselves as so electric and quick to that most popular idea among us that we were too much for the manifested spirits. Of course, this contained all the feelings of superiority we already had within us. It did not even appear on the list of ideas that the gap between spirit and will was not allowing will to draw in or anchor the light, nor did it cross our minds, because of the denials involved, that there could be any valid reason why the manifested spirits would not want to draw in our light. We viewed them as obtuse, oppositional, and laboring in unconsciousness that could not open and receive our light. We viewed the manifested spirits just as I had viewed the mother and the father of manifestation at the time of the manifested spirit's emergence. But because I had denied so much of what I really saw and felt then, I did not recognize this for a long time.